A long article by Chinese Communist Party mouthpiece Xinhua News Agency that lambasted U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo for criticizing the communist regime has unexpectedly backfired as Chinese netizens expressed support for Pompeo and criticized the CCP. On August 25th, Xinhua published a 30,000-word article to criticize the speech Pompeo delivered outside the Nixon Presidential Library in California on July 23rd. Xinhua said it was a total negation of the China-U.S. relations and malicious attacks on the CCP's political system and undermines the CCP's relations with the Chinese people. It then excerpted 26 passages from Pompeo's speech and criticized them one by one. In its first passage, Xinhua quoted and combined 3 partial sentences from Pompeo's speech. The Chinese people are completely distinct from the Chinese Communist Party. The biggest lie that they tell is to think that they speak for 1.4 billion people. The CCP fears the Chinese people's honest opinions more than any foe. Other quotes and phrases from Pompeo's speech that Xinhua took issue with included, "China is not a free country. 1.4 billion people are surveilled, oppressed." The CCP is repeating some of the same mistakes that the Soviet Union made, rejecting property rights and predictable rule of law. The Chinese Communist Party's designs for hegemony. Beijing threatens international agreements. China ripped off U.S. prized intellectual property and trade secrets. People's Liberation Army is not to protect the Chinese people. The extremely long Xinhua article was reprinted by many other state media, and it took People's Daily 3 full pages to publish the entire article, with Pompeo's passages printed in dark, bold font. Various self-media also spread the piece online, where it quickly went viral. Chinese Weibo users welcomed the unexpected opportunity to read parts of Pompeo's speech. One person bluntly tweeted, "Bullseye." Another commented, "If 120 words take a minute to read, this more than 30,000-word article is equivalent to Pompeo being lectured for 258 minutes. That's 4.3 hours. Others said, "Mad. The nail on the head. An unprecedented treatment. This madness means the Americans are doing absolutely the right thing." Quite a few posts reminded others that pretty soon this may be a rare collector's item and to be sure to keep a copy of it. Despite the wordy attack, some netizens also thanked Xinhua for helping to publicize what the people's enemy, Pompeo, said, and he has said a lot. There are also some who wondered what might happen if Pompeo stayed in his position for another term or would someday even be elected president of the United States. What if the people's enemy becomes the U.S. president? If the people's enemy stays for another 4 years, will the regime go crazy? Maybe he will be elected president in 2024. The regime is frightened to death. If the people's enemy becomes the leader in 2024, how is the regime leader going to explain Xinhua's article? Or is it going to be forcibly retrieved? One person said, "This is empowering, a big bargaining chip for a future presidential campaign." Chinese affairs commentator Tang Jingyuan tweeted, "The crazy bombardment of the Chinese people's enemy, Pompeo, is really an all-out effort in the extreme, almost exhausting the entire media's strength. Since the CCP came into power in China, there has never been a Western high official who was treated with such VIP recognition by the regime's mouthpiece. This unprecedented hatred only shows its unprecedented fear. Secretary Pompeo's visiting multiple countries has one ultimate goal: to take down the CCP."
On August 29th, people in Pingyao County, Shanxi Province, faced a situation where all their stores were nationalized. The ancestral property of more than 210 families was nationalized overnight. More than 30 ancestral properties have been locked up and sealed. Some old people and children were dragged from their homes by public security officers, urban management officers, and plainclothes police. A pregnant woman was beaten. Wang Zhuyan, pseudonym, whose guest house was forcibly closed down by local authorities, said the Pingyao County government issued a decision letter on July 3rd, requiring those notified to vacate the house within 15 days and return the certificate of ownership, after which mandatory measures would be taken to take back the house.
Now they, the government, start with the business owners first. A leader once said, "Pingyao's tourism is so developed, yet the Pingyao government has no money. With all the money in private hands, do you think it is appropriate? This is a great absurdity. Whether it's appropriate or not, it is left to us by our old ancestors, and it is our private property. You cannot rob it out of envy." The ancestral property of our family was taken over by the government in 1958. After the end of the Cultural Revolution, the property rights of the ancestral home were returned in 2009, after 3 generations of difficult negotiations. After receiving the notice of transfer of property rights, we got the house ownership certificate. The government issued a decision on July 3rd and on July 9th. Before the required 15 days, they locked the door. When we reasoned with them, they came up and slapped the old man in his 80s 3 steps backward. They beat my husband in the courtyard. Without even giving him time to put on his shoes, they took him to the police station and forced him to stay there for more than an hour. When he came back, our house was locked. We saw the lock open. On August 29th, they came again. Some dressed in police officers' uniforms, some in urban management uniforms, and some in plain clothes. I asked them where they were from, but they didn't answer. They came and affixed the seal to our house, which read, People's Government of Pingyao County. The Intermediate Court of Luliang City has accepted our case. We informed these people and asked them whether the court had awarded the property right to them, but they kept what they were doing. We were running a hotel and the guest luggage were still in the room. I talked to the police and the city management officers about this, and they said, we don't care about this, and kept affixing seals. They opened the doors of guest rooms and shouted, come out quickly. The guests were so frightened. They ran out with only their slippers on and their bags. It's really a criminal act. We tried to talk to the Pingyao County government. It rained heavily that day. We waited all morning until the deputy county magistrate came. He said to us, don't make a scene. The houses will be taken no matter what. You can sue whatever you like. It's no use for us to look for any help now. Nobody cares. We ordinary people are the ones who have no help at all.
In the ancient city of Pingyao, most of these rented houses belong to wealthy families who once had social status. The market value of the houses is also relatively high, with one small courtyard in the city selling for nearly $2.9 million, and some valued at $4.4 million or more, according to the owners. Most of the homeowners had paid replacement fees and spent money on dismissing renters and repairs when they repossessed their properties. They were furious that their houses had been nationalized.
Zhang Jian, a Shanghai citizen journalist, was arrested while conducting interviews in Wuhan during the epidemic and was subsequently taken into criminal detention. Recently, this case has been sent to the prosecutor's office for review and prosecution. It was reported that Zhang Jian has been on a hunger strike in the detention center, so she is physically weak. Because she was doing interviews in Wuhan during the epidemic, she was arrested by the CCP for picking quarrels and provoking trouble. According to her family members, they had been forcibly feeding Zhang Jian since she was on a hunger strike in the detention center. Zhang's health is extremely bad.
In most cases, the authorities will not allow any information about these political prisoners to leak during the initial period when there is strong public concern. They never follow legal procedures and allow lawyers to intervene.
In early February, Zhang Jian went to Wuhan to report the local situation during the epidemic. She visited hospitals' emergency rooms, interviewed patients who went to fever clinics, went to Wuhan train station to interview travelers, and visited factories to report underemployment. She then uploaded and published her interview content to social media such as WeChat, Twitter, and YouTube. On May 14th, she was arrested in Wuhan. On May 15th, she was detained by Shanghai police and is currently detained at the Pudong New District Detention Center. Mr. Liu from Wuhan indicated that going on hunger strike is to fight for basic human rights.
For the basic rights of these suspects, the majority of them would resist and fight. Just like when I was in prison, I fought for the rights to read and to meet with others. I also went on a hunger strike.
Mr. Hu from Shanghai indicated that a hunger strike is a serious protest against the injustice of the judiciary.
Put this on the internet and let citizens understand the truth. She is a brave girl who yearns for freedom and a bright future. She is a great girl. A hunger strike is a protest, a serious protest against the injustice of the judiciary in China.
In September last year, Zhang Jian held an umbrella on the streets of Shanghai, demanding an end to the communist system and calling for the CCP to step down. She was arrested and detained for 65 days, during which she went on a hunger strike twice.
I call on the world to pay more attention to Zhang Jian. I admire her. She has always worked alone quietly and became a citizen journalist to visit Wuhan during the most dangerous time. This indeed deserves the admiration from everyone. I hope more people are informed about her case.
40-year-old Zhang Jian graduated with a master's degree from Southwestern University of Finance and Economics. In 2010, Zhang left her hometown and went to Shanghai. She once worked as a lawyer but could not continue her practice when authorities retaliated against her for publishing articles of criticism online.
China is seeing its longest monsoon season and record rainfalls this year. Moreover, areas outside the monsoon territory, such as northeastern China, were also hit by torrential rains on September 1st, causing serious flooding. In a rural area of Yingkou City, Liaoning Province, after a rainstorm, a flood destroyed country roads and many houses.
应该有地，这房子都土没了，屋子里的电视都土到大水边上了。大水冲进来。
Waterlogging trapped many cars on the road.
看看这车淹的。
全打不着火了，都搁这救援的打电话，看看泡的。
Sichuan province, located in southwest China, was one of the worst flooded regions in August. Just a few days earlier, locals were busy cleaning up the mess when previous floodwaters receded. Unexpectedly, another round of heavy downpours flooded cities and villages again on August 30th. In some areas, residents living on the first floor reported that water rose to window level, gushing into the houses through window joints.
2020年8月30日，洪水又来了，乐山的洪水又来了，洪水。
哇，这离地的有点危险了，到现在没安了。
Mount Wutai is home to a number of China's most famous and well-respected Buddhist temples. On August 27th, Mount Wutai was hit by a rare snow, and tourists had to purchase or rent winter jackets to keep warm. This is the 14th summer snow in China this year. An intense hailstorm battered Baotao, capital city of Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, on September 1st. The ground was covered by a thick layer of hailstones. On the same day, Beijing was also hit by hail, along with heavy rains and strong winds.
哇塞！